Welcome to the Cashflow Academy podcast. I'm your host, Andy Tanner, and this is where we make investing fun, simple, and real. Make sure you like and subscribe, hit your notification bell, and most important, make sure you check out cashflowbonus.com. We have free stuff there, all kinds of tools. You know, I've been on the warpath lately because there's so much content creation and content consumption, and I just thought, you know, if we spend as much time doing stuff as we did consuming stuff, boy, that's really going to move your needle. So just remember as you watch, the things we speak about today require action, not just consumption and not just entertainment or edutainment. It's going to be great. Well, I'm excited to learn today. One of the benefits of doing the podcast is, you know, when my business partner first said we should do one years ago, I said, oh, geez, that's another thing to worry about. And the opportunity to speak with people smarter than me has been a blessing in my life because, as the longtime listeners know, you know, I went to college to play basketball, and I don't know, I barely made it. So this is the closest I'll ever get to being in a finance class at George Mason University. I'll tell you that. And we have a very special guest. We have Professor Derek Horstmeyer today, and he's going to speak about AI. And he is a professor of finance at George Mason. So I'm a little worried. A good thing we're on Zoom, because if I got close, you know, people worry because they get dumber having hung out with me. So Professor Horstmeyer, what a pleasure. And thank you so much for being on the program today.
Well, thank you, Andy, for having me on. Looking forward to it.
This is a new frontier. Let's begin just with your background. You know, we everyone's forced to learn AI now. You know, finance is always going to use the technology. But what drove you to want to teach and want to study this particular topic? Just a little background, you know, growing up and all that stuff.
Sure, yeah, happy to give it a little bit of a background. Yeah, so I'm currently a finance professor at George Mason University. I became really interested in the Federal Reserve and how technology influences the Federal Reserve, probably just maybe 5, 10 years ago. And that's just been kind of a research subject that I've been really looking into. It's just fascinating to see with all of the developments that are going on in stable coins, AI, et cetera, and really how that's influencing the Fed and the Treasury and our macro economy in general.
Yeah, for sure. And let's start with the Fed then, right then and there, and we'll go with that. They're in a hard spot. Our listeners are fairly sophisticated, and if you're new, you'll get there quick here. We keep it simple. But the Fed's in an interesting spot with their dual mandate right now. My opinion, and who knows who's right, my opinion is when we had a subprime meltdown, Ben Bernanke way accommodative policy. I mean, as accommodative as you could be. And I think the idea there was to accommodate to put off or, maybe not even put it off or roll the snowball up the hill or kick the can down the road. It was kind of just try to spread out the shock of that over time. And as you look at the Federal Reserve balance sheet, I look at those four accounts. I look at the cash in circulation. I look at member banks that can now make deposits there and earn interest. That puts a nice floor on interest rates for everyone. No one's going to beat the Fed for, quote, risk-free, unquote, rates. You have reverse repo. And then you have the checking account of the Treasury. So those are the four big ones. And when he accommodated that and they bought all those assets, I don't think people realized they called it the toxic asset protection program, and then they changed it to troubled because it didn't sound so good.
Yeah, very true.
And it's interesting. I think I would just love to be a small business that could just be aggressive and invest in CDOs and all that, and then just say, you know what, these are really going to hurt me. I'm going to lose a lot of money in them. Could you just give me cash for these, please? And trade that crappy stuff for money? And they said, sure, yeah, we'll do that. But as soon as they gave them that money, I think a lot of it, they just gave it right back to the Fed and started earning interest on it. I don't think it made it as much in the economy. Mm-hmm. But with COVID, man, they're writing checks to people to pay rent and go to Costco. And they said the inflation was transitory, but then they said it was sticky. And so the Fed right now, I think, there's still a lot of money there, Professor. I think the Fed has to worry about inflation. And we just had this revision of unemployment. That's what I got my eye on. Unemployment will force their hand. They're in a tough spot. So with that background, tell me how you see it.
Sure, yeah, happy to. Yeah, I mean, you're correct. The Fed is in a real tough spot right now. Obviously, to specify the dual mandate, they have to care about minimizing inflation and maximizing GDP, and those are usually a trade-off, right? And right now, we see inflation somewhat under control and unemployment somewhat under control, but with the passage of this new budget, which we're running budget deficits at 7% of GDP, which is
That's
still very
supposed to be
massive.
that's supposed to be the Democrats' job, isn't it? I mean, we got a
Exactly.
mandate,
Yeah.
and what happened here? It's the same.
It's the same on both sides, right? If there's no constraint, no fiscal constraint, your senators and your congressmen are just going to keep spending. And running 7% budget deficits is not a good thing, especially for inflation. So you're correct. I don't think they have the inflation thing under control. We've kept interest rates in the 4% range for a long time now, and that's partially because people are still seeing signs of inflation with tariffs taking effect, or big tariffs taking effect today, August 7th. There's still quite a number of concerns of inflation, and unemployment has been slowly ticking up. So that's never a good thing to be facing while the Fed, because in the back of your mind, you're worrying about stagflation, which is
Yes.
something you never
Let's,
want to face.
let's talk about stagflation, and there's a little jargon, so I'll define that as best I can. You can correct me if I miss the mark, but there's certain times where we have both inflation and a stagnant economy where we have unemployment starting to rise. You kind of have the worst of both worlds, and that can happen. And it could be set up there in a couple of ways. But let's talk about this. So as a guy who invests, I'm always cautiously bullish is always the default setting. You believe the market will grow over time, but you are looking around. And we're cash flow investors here. I don't get into the buy low, sell high. We love dividend stocks. We love writing options on those stocks, and we also love we love credit trades that are high probability. And then we manage the risk. It's a significant risk with high probability. But let's look at this. I was very, very concerned and very, very bearish, just considering the fiscal irresponsibility we just mentioned. The word in all three reports, whether it be the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, the Secretary of the Treasury, or the Congressional Budget Office, Government Accountability Office, GAO, all of those agencies use the word unsustainable, and that's true. There's just no way with the, I guess I would say what would you call it, income stability, pensions and health care and Social Security, and it's about probably a little more than a third of the budget, I would guess. I haven't looked at it in a while. That's just, you can't do it. It's just unsustainable. So we have this huge problem there. However, Bill Clinton, in his administration, gave a State of the Union, and he said, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of America, the deficit is exactly zero. And that was a result. That wasn't him, by the way. He was busy mentoring an intern at the time. But what really happened was a guy named Bill Gates and Steve Bezos or Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs, they blew this thing up technology-wise. And there was so much productivity that the pie of the GDP grew so large that the amount of taxes that could be collected, boom, and we grew our way out of a deficit. We grew our way out. So you can, the Republicans want to cut taxes. That doesn't help a deficit. The Democrats want to spend the money. That doesn't help it. Well, now the the Republicans want to spend the money now. There's no difference anymore. And then the third thing is, can we grow our way out of a deficit of 30 trillion, $30+ trillion? Well, AI. What does AI do in a word? Productivity. So can we grow our way out of this with AI?
That's the $1 million question, or $1 billion question, or $1 trillion
Trillion
question,
dollar
actually.
question. Yeah.
Given, well, it's funny that $1 trillion is back on the table. We're looking at OpenAI
Incredible.
doing another round of financing and being valued up close to $1 trillion. So,
You've got Nvidia, Apple, Google, Microsoft. You got those, and they got 7 stocks right now that are making up about 40% of the S&P, which lets a lot of zombie guys look good hiding under the big growth. I think.
yep, yeah, exactly. First off, best case scenario, like if AI takes off and we really get the productivity boom that we're hoping for, maybe that'll reduce budget deficits down to 3%, which is manageable. We can keep growing and kicking the can down the road on our debt issues if we're 3% of budget deficits, 3% deficit, excuse me. In terms of AI itself, you're right. It's leading to a lot of concentration in the S&P 500. You're correct. 1/3 of our companies are, 1/3 of our market cap in the S&P is just 7 companies. That's pretty extreme market concentration.
It really is. Here's the interesting thing. I love it. I love AI for my business. I can either reduce my expenses in terms of human resource. It can automate everything. Or I can take what the person used to produce by themselves, keep them on staff, and they can triple or quadruple, whatever they're doing. So that's great for me. But I don't want anyone else to have this, because that means they'll cut their labor, and that means no one can buy my stuff. So it's really interesting, and I'm going to throw this out at you, and this might be, I'm a long-winded question asker because I like to ask good questions. So maybe this is a good one, maybe it isn't. In history, people, and I'm going to harp on this on every podcast probably for a year now, so everyone can get used to this. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. Time will tell. I'm usually wrong, by the way, so take it for what it's worth. In history, people have people see a robot and they say, "Oh no, all the jobs are going away. Look, they got the assembly line in Michigan, and the cars are being built by robots." But that's never been the case. It's always been more for human labor. The technology's always created new opportunities, new companies, new ventures. It's always grown big. So everyone says, AI is not going to take jobs, it's going to make more. Where I believe it's different this time, and I do believe it is different, is I think there's what I'm calling a trifecta happening. So here's my trifecta. If I look at my 5 senses, and we'll just use the eyes for a minute. First of all, a hawk has better eyes than me. And all my eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and touch are input devices. They help me sense the environment. So I need sensory talent, sensory abilities to do that. But my eyes cannot see the microbes on the sponge, but machines can. My eyes can't see the moons around Jupiter or the phases of Venus, but machines can. I can't see infrared, but goggles can. Can't see ultraviolet, machines can. So machines are starting to, they've been better at us at most things. Dexterity, hearing, Bloodhound smells and hears better than I do. So the input devices are just bury ours. I mean, we've been using stethoscopes and instruments and hypodermic needles. We've been using stuff for a long time. That's nothing new. The machines do it better than we do. The second thing, though, that makes it different is the ability to take that information and process it. Now, that's different. I take what I get from these inputs and I say, what does this mean? And I calculate how I want to manipulate the environment. And then the third part of the trifecta is my opposing thumbs, which made us, those 3 things: our ability to perceive the environment, process it, make a goal, and then move the environment around is it. My Tesla drives itself. It does all 3. All 3 are there. Now it can see, think about it, and act and manipulate things in the world without a human. That's different, man. That is different. So here's what's really weird. The value of human labor now is drastically in jeopardy. There's an existential threat to human labor. And people used to come on my podcast saying, I'd really like to get out of the rat race. I'm tired of working for money. I should have more for me. You're going to get out of the rat race. You're getting out because it's not there anymore. So ownership. That's the way. If you don't want UBI and you want to be the best you can be, UBI, it scares the hell out of me. Not because, like most people, it's secure, I'll have money. Man, everyone the same. Like I can't go win a basketball game and try to be a champion in my life. So that's a big, long trifecta question. Comments on that? Tell me where I'm wrong.
Sure, no, I see exactly what you're saying. We've had a history of creative destruction. There's always new machines coming in, but you're right. This time might be different, especially once we achieve artificial general intelligence, where they're not just doing predictive reasoning, but they're actually thinking like we think and thinking better than we think. That's a really scary thing to think about with AIs. And, it's going to lead to a lot of job destruction, right? We're already seeing a lot of middle management positions, which are just taking input goods and then kind of just, as you say, assessing those input goods and passing them on to somebody up above them. That can kind of be done by an AI. And we're seeing law firms cutting those positions.
Yep. Don't need them.
Yeah, don't need them. My contention is, it's going to be a lot of job destruction, but the silver lining is, humans always like interacting with other humans. Hopefully that holds. So maybe
for us as teachers, we hope it does.
Yeah, exactly. For teachers, we hope it does.
You hope.
So hopefully,
I'm not counting on it. I'm buying assets. I'm not counting on it.
Yeah. Hopefully the jobs that are created are tourism and hospitality. And, maybe it's just we have more and more humans that are, helping other humans on, as I say, tourism, hospitality, service industry positions where humans still like interacting with other humans. So that's what I'm hoping.
I see. I don't want a job, but I see this concentration you mentioned. That's a trend. So you have the destruction of jobs is a trend. AI is an exponential trend of replacing human labor. I mean, we're not worth anything anymore. It's psychologically nervous. I don't want a job, but I worry about people that do want one, because where do you get your sense of fulfillment? Some people say this. They go, oh man, I'd love to just sit at the pool all day with a drink with an umbrella in it. That'd be a great life. It's not. It's not. Once you achieve financial independence, you got to have meaning. You have this Maslow's hierarchy of fulfillment and service and doing good to all men, and it's a rough deal. So here's the idea. As this concentration happens, I think a person's best bet is equities, because owning the labor is the only place I see you go now, unless you're going to be an entrepreneur and create stuff, which I'm not smart enough to build an iPad, so I have to partner with Steve Jobs. The word share is really important right now. The word share is really important. Shares of stock? No, it's shares of productivity. Comment on that if you would.
Yes, exactly. I think a lot of the gains that are going to go to people in the latter half of the 21st century is going to be equity holders, right? I think bond holders are going to face a real dilemma, obviously, with the issues that we touched on previously. Bonds don't look like an attractive thing, especially with
liquidity,
the possibility of continued inflation. Equities, especially equities in the new economy, are probably going to be where it's at, right? It's going to be the people that are developing the AI models, the engineers associated with that. And your best bet is to latch on to those companies, some of which are still private, or a lot of them are still private, and buy equity in those companies. Yeah.
And I don't think it's just the 7 we mentioned. I mean, you can buy NVIDIA, who knows what the PE, what's a good bargain now compared to where, what the future holds. I don't know what a good PE is in those 7 anymore. I used to think Tesla was way over at a just ridiculous P. I'm like, they're never going to make that up with growth. Are you kidding me? 500 PE, that's nuts. I was wrong again. But what I think is interesting, I don't think it's the tech play. I think it's the guy who sells paper clips. I think it's the guy who sells tomatoes. I think it's the guy who, has better inventory, better transportation, better packaging, better advertising, better marketing, better management, better customer service, because AI makes all of that better. The whole thing is going to, the sad thing is people don't see it at all. What are you telling your students? When your students come to class, what are you telling them? I mean, are they coming in? My son's, he's going to go play hoop. He got a basketball scholarship, so he's going to play hoop. And I said, son, that's your most important class because you're going to learn how to compete. You're going to learn pressure. You're going to learn having someone yell at you all the time. You're going to suffer like I did when I played college basketball. The suffering that was the gift to me on those practice, even though it's a simulation, it seems real when you're in that trance. And then find a wife, find someone who you love, and then learn how to learn, because what you're learning is obsolete. And what are you going to do when you grow up, Andy? I'm going to teach people all over the world in 170 countries from my house as a podcaster. It didn't exist. So what are you telling your students? I mean, what are they nervous about it? Are they excited about it? Where are the young people at?
No, that's great. Yeah, I think the nerves are there, right? This is a very disruptive moment for young people, whether you're in your teens or your 20s. I mean, how on earth do you prepare for this when you have no idea what products are going to be out there, what line of jobs are going to still be around in 10 or 15 years if AI really promises what it's what it's saying it could deliver. Really, it's difficult. How do you prepare somebody for that? I just try and encourage them to kind of be a jack of all trade, learn as many things as you can, build out your network, right? Be a decent human being that's connected to a lot of other people at George Mason or at your school, and that will keep the door open for you, right? Because that's all you can do, is have lots of friendships, lots of people that you know, and if you ever lose a job in the future, you can always reach out on LinkedIn or whatever platform you're using and follow up with somebody, and hopefully they have a position for you, and that's kind of all you can really prepare them for.
Isn't it rough to be headed towards the rat race? Isn't it rough to be in a school system that says, what are you going to be when you grow up, and what are you going to do to work for money? Isn't that crazy? I think my kids are lucky. I don't know. Maybe they'll wind up living at home till they're 40. I don't know. I don't think so. My son's both my kids have a nice nest egg going. We did something interesting. When you say, what do you tell them? What do you do? We did something that was interesting. In 2020, my son had just finished the 8th grade. In the 1920 school year. So the 2021 was going to be a mess. And as a basketball family, you don't want to burn your freshman year not playing. You need all 4 years. So in my home state, they have pretty aggressive laws in terms of what they let parents do. All you got to do is get a paper, notarize it, send it to the state. I can teach them whatever I want. I can yank them out of school and teach them how to break bread. They just say, hey, you're the parent, decide what your kid can do. So I don't know anything about chemistry, and I don't know anything about that crap, but I said, why don't we do this, son? If you want, you and me and your mom will do homeschool this year. And we're going to do 4 subjects. Number 1, we're going to learn how to buy equities, and you invest in equities because there's no expiration date. You can invest in those, but you have to trade options because they expire. Well, with those 2 1-2 punches, let's get some premium going. Let's get some dividends going for you just on a basic way. And let's do a compounding calculator at age 15 and just see where you'd be at a 10%, 12% rate, something like that, maybe better. And then I said, we're going to do real estate. We'll learn how to borrow money and provide housing for people. We're going to learn taxes from Tom Wheelwright. And then you can shadow me in the business we do, and I'll show you, how sales works, communications, leadership, and we'll do homeschool for a year. And, he's been trading his own account now with options and investing in stocks that he holds now for we're going on 5 years. And when he leaves home, he's got a nest egg that was much bigger than mine. I think that's the answer. I think it's financial education. I think it's quite possible that taking a year, of financial education to learn ownership rather than labor. You're either going to be part of that concentration or you're not. And it's just like cash. There's a scarcity. There's only so many shares. And I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen. Professor, what happens in Zimbabwe when they don't think money is worth anything anymore? What happens in Zimbabwe?
They wind up printing $100 trillion bill to keep going.
Yeah.
Hyperinflation.
Hyperinflation. Now think about this. So people are getting rid and they're running away from cash, trying to run to something that's valuable as fast as they can. As soon as they lose confidence in that money. Just think about this for a minute. Talk about the stock market. Think about this for a minute. What happens when people they finally realize, they look at me and they look at a kid like mine, they're like, he's okay. He's got part of this. I need to buy equities with everything I got now. I can't, it used to be, a little extra 401k money, I'm going to put it in there, Now they're like, I got to do this, everything I got. When people run from cash and the cash drops and run to gold or whatever they run to, whatever they run to. Think about this. What happens when students all of a sudden in your class say, I can feel that there's nothing, I feel like this is my direction. I got to learn how to buy stuff. I got to buy stuff. What? There's only so many shares, Professor. What's going to happen in the stock market when everyone realizes, holy shit, I finally need to go to, cashflowbonus.com and at least download an ebook for free and learn how to buy stuff. What's going to happen when people realize there's no value in your eyes, brain, and hands anymore? The trifecta can't compete. You just can't. The only way is ownership. What's going to happen to the stock market when people figure that out?
Yeah.
And there's a limited amount of shares.
Yeah, limited amount of shares.
Because BlackRock has it, Fidelity has it, Vanguard has it.
Exactly. Your big passive funds own huge swaths, and you're going to see
shares to buy.
No shares to buy. You'll see upward pressure in the price. You'll see PE ratios expand, and stocks go up, obviously. So, you're correct. It definitely upward pressure on things. If interest rates stay low, and it's obviously
biggest boom in history, and yet everybody's poor. Biggest boom in history for people that own it. People that don't own it, there's no shares. And my personal opinion is, my colleagues will say, how in the hell, with the debt to GDP ratio we have and with the future and the unsustainability, how's the market sustained? I'm not going to sell my shares. I'm not selling them. I don't get, you can have a little jobs revision, you have all that. There's just not enough ownership out there. There's just not enough. Thoughts?
Yeah, no. As long as you keep limiting the supply of shares, and we see upward pressure here.
Buybacks?
Say again, sorry?
Buybacks?
Buybacks, exactly. Buybacks. Every other day we hear an announcement. We just heard yesterday, Uber announcing a $20 billion buyback. Right, that does nothing but make your EPS look better. It makes the stock more attractive and leads to greater inflows. Right, as long as
especially when they don't have to spend money on people, they can just have automated cars. I was in one the other day. It was incredible. I was in Phoenix. My wife hopped in. Was like, man, we're in the back seat. No one's driving, and this is absolutely just fine. It's fine.
Interesting. I've yet to be in a fully autonomous vehicle. I want to try it out.
It's smooth as silk. Stopped. I walk up with the app. Doors unlock. In, shut. Push the button. Off we go.
That's very cool.
One button.
It's interesting to see. It's kind of all over the West Coast, but out here on the East Coast, I haven't yet had it yet. So,
people are going to say, well, you're not going to be able to do this. I guarantee you there will be a robot that can lay tile better than a human. There'll be a robot that can wire a house and build a house and roof a house better. It'll get there. And be, oh, no. Okay, what if I tell my dad in the 50s, this car will drive itself before you, in your lifetime, this car will drive itself. Oh, no. That's the guy that said this house won't roof itself.
Yeah.
It's amazing time. You're an educator. I thought your advice was good. It was interesting. Learn as much as you can, but get to know as many people as you can. What's your opinion on, you're a finance guy in college. What's your opinion on the population, the electorate, when it comes to financial education? What's your opinion? I mean, what grade would you give our society in, like you and I just talked about the dual mandate of the Fed, and we talked about inflation, we talked about employment, debt to GDP ratio, couple things like that. Way basics, Econ 101, basic. What grade would you give our nation, the United States, on the overall financial education we give people?
I would say, I see a lot of finance students even, and this is their specialty, and they even struggle with very basic concepts like, what is the interest rate on a debt or on a credit card, and how does that affect what your decision making should be?
Or a student loan?
Or a student loan, exactly, right? These are always things that are so far off in the distance, they don't even pay attention to the interest rate. That's not how you should think about something, right? So I would give our nation's, especially high school or older, probably their finance knowledge, I'll be generous and give them a C. That's pretty generous for most people.
That's very generous.
Yeah, that's very
I'll be.
generous.
I mean, I guess I'm going to be. I might get canceled for this political incorrectness, but to me, when someone says, Andy, you're going to get a failing grade, and F means you're failing. And when I look at where that is, in all seriousness, and not even joking around, it's failing grade because we're failing. We're failing them. A student loan might be the worst loan. I mean, remember the zero down, no doc, stated income loans?
Yep.
Okay, that's a student. Well, a student loan is exactly that, without collateral. And that's something, to go and spend that amount of money to learn how to work for money, where within the next 20 years, can you just imagine the exponential nature where this will go over the next 20 years? I'm so glad I'm going to be alive. Well, I'm going to try to be alive for it. I'm going to have to get my A1C down a little bit, but amazing stuff. What counsel would you give an adult? I imagine we have college students to listen to, but think about an adult. They're not in school. They don't have a chance to network like these kids do. They're kind of set. Is it okay? Is it okay for people to learn stuff after college is over? Is that okay for us to do? Because people say, well, I'm done now. I'm trying to finish school. I want to be done with school. I want to stop learning as soon as possible is what they say. What advice would you give adults?
Yeah. No, it's a really good question. For those that are listening here, I'm sure they're on their path to learning financial literacy, to learning about the stock market. I think that's a great thing, right? Being a lifelong learner, especially understanding how the economy and your own finances work is key, right? To having a retirement nest egg, to owning equity, all of that stuff. So being a lifelong learner is great. And reaching out to and listening to programs like this, definitely helps. So that would be number one piece of advice that I would give. Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Well, I will tell you, everyone listening to this podcast will bring exactly zero money to you today, having listened. If you take it and continue to learn and then actually buy shares intelligently, and you click the buy button to buy something, and it pays you a dividend, and you're started to produce it. I'll finish with this story. That the first lesson I gave my kid when we did homeschool is, we said, okay, today's first day of school. Let's go on a field trip. And we went down to the Exxon Mobil station, and I said, fill her up. And I said, how much? $80, whatever it was. And I said, all right, let's go back home and get out the American Express statement. Let's look at all the money we spent on gas last year. He said, wow, Dad, that's a lot. I go, well, that's our consumption. And then we pulled out the brokerage statement, and I chose the very gas station we went to, Exxon. And I said, now look at what we get from producing. And I said, son, look, you may not know where the future goes. And the problem people have is they're trying to see what the changes will be. But the real smart guy looks in the future a different way. We see what won't change. And I'm going to tell you what's not going to change, son. Then we went to Costco. I said, let's just watch the direction the money goes for a minute. Let's just watch all these people in line. Let's just watch where the money goes. Every single person in line. Okay, now you got the refund desk over here with like 2 guys at it. And you got 700 people on Saturday in line at the same time trying to give their money to the producers. There's your lesson.
Yep.
The money... Money's going to go to producers and out of the pockets of consumers. There you have it. Done. So go learn to be a producer by owning shares. And if you don't know how to start your own company, Jeff Bezos will partner with you. Elon Musk will partner with you. They will share their company with you. It's going to get tougher because they're going to buy back a lot of their shares with all this money they're making. They're going to concentrate. There's going to be less and less shares to buy. Get them while you can. Get them while you can. Dr. Professor Horstmeyer, thank you for your time. Most guys come on here and they got something to pitch or whatever. I says, what do you want to pitch? He says, I just want to share the information.
Yeah.
So for you to take
chat.
a half hour out of your busy day, absolutely wonderful. Please hang out so I can properly thank you after the show. You've been watching and listening to Cash Flow Academy podcast. It's getting much easier for me these days to offer financial education to people for some reason. We're getting more and more people now. They're getting to cashflowbonus.com to get their free stuff to learn how to buy assets and own. And that's what we're here to do, is to serve you. The more people we can serve, the more effective we will become. So you've been watching and listening to the Cash Flow Academy podcast. My guest, Derek Horstmeyer from George Mason University. Hope you enjoyed our conversation. Most of all, I hope you click a buy button this week and buy something to get some production and start right now. We'll see you next time.